And this meeting is being live streamed. Okay. I'm okay with that. And now I have a little icon with the little green Wi-Fi lines blinking up that says YouTube. So that must mean that it's working. Oh. And then it says this meeting is being recorded. So I'm gonna hit the blue.
Thanks for the play-by-play. Thanks for that play-by-play.
Now I have a little icon with a cloud with a red dot.
All right, enough.
That says recording ... Well, I think we're good there.
Yeah, thanks. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. Heyo.
What's up, party people?
What's up?
You got a better mix already, John? That's awesome.
Amazing.
Amazing to hear. Namaste.
Hi.
Hey, Sides.
How's it going?
Oh, good.
It's going very well. How are you today?
I'm good. Rise and grind.
That's right. Every day.
Every day we're hustling.
You got a do you have a Frenchie?
I do.
We're twinsies. What's his name?
This is Leo. He's a maestro.
Oh, he's got white underbelly.
Just a little.
Yep.
He says, stop showing my privates to everybody.
His I have a blue. I have a blue named Gnocchi.
Oh, it's cute. I
He's
love
like,
these
he's like a little twin. He's like a little twin.
They're all like the same.
I know. Oh.
Want to make some music, Leo? He sometimes sings.
Mm.
He's a singer. Oh.
Yeah, Gnocchi. Is that one? You like that one? Somebody has a dead.
That's cute.
Dead face.
Yeah, now you got to sample him singing and work it into a song.
Are you Italian?
All of my dogs are carbs.
Oh.
Noodle, Nacho, and Gnocchi.
Oh wow, you have 3 dogs?
I am Italian. How could you tell?
Arrivederci.
Hey.
Hey, chat, where's everybody from? DJ Fernando. I have 2 cats as well. Chill out, Jake. Cat people are people too, okay?
Cats are cute. I don't have any cats. I just have 2 dogs.
What's your other dog?
Puka? She's over here.
Poopa
She's like a
or Koopa?
Puka.
Oh, Puka. Puka.
Puka.
Puka Nakua from the Los Angeles Rams.
Have you seen that movie, by the way?
No.
Puka? No.
No.
Anybody see the movie? It is weird.
I'm the stepmom, really, of Puka.
Oh yeah.
She's my boyfriend's dog. But she likes me.
She chills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chills.
Tucson. Mark from Tampa. Yup. I'm just reading out the locations now. Oakland. Who did the homework, by the way, last night? Who did the homework? One's in chat if you did the homework. Did you do your homework?
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.5. I like that honesty.
25, yeah. Nice.
The obligatory "my da ate my homework,"
Mm-hmm.
which is always clever.
This is gonna sound really bad, but I also forgot what the homework was. What's the homework?
Come on, sides. Come on.
Oh, jeez.
What was it?
They were supposed to attempt a volume only mix.
Oh. Okay.
Question for Jake from yesterday. After setting the kick to 0, are you adjusting the rest of the instruments all by ear, or are you starting near certain decibels? No, I'm not going by numbers at all. No math involved. It is, I'm setting a level, and then I'm just going instinct just based on ear.
Yeah.
Right. If you're earlier on in that learning curve, and you've only done like a handful of projects, or you've only worked on your own stuff, you're probably going to reference a little bit earlier just to kind of get a feel for where things should sit volume wise. But no, yesterday was all very instinctual, just all by ear.
Um, also,
Were you
I have
able
to,
to ask Luke about the tracks?
huh?
Or were you able to ask Luke about potentially sharing the multi-tracks for educational purposes,
Yeah.
practice?
He said it was okay, but he also sent over an agreement.
Okay,
So I don't really know how that works, where it's like they can't like upload or release or any of that stuff.
perfect.
I don't
Fire it
know
off
how.
to, yeah, I think you could just send it to Caleb and I in the Slack channel.
We could figure that
And
out.
That's fine.
then
Well,
also I have to leave like a little bit before 12 because I'm doing the mentoring session.
you're all right.
So
Yep.
if anyone has questions for me, just ask them before 12. And I'll
12
try to put them in the chat.
Pacific, to be clear.
Yes, 12 specific.
Yep, if you need a replay from yesterday, if you're just catching up, you can go to courses.mastering.com. The replay is live there. It's free. You should already have an account if you're here for this, so it's all should be set up. And there's a lot of great other content there you can check out. And our announcements will be there. So if you do want to mix something, if we are able to post these multi-tracks, the link for that will be available. If you go to courses.mastering.com, then just click on the announcements tab. That's where that would be.
Yeah, we'll start in just another couple minutes here, guys. Just making sure everybody has an opportunity to walk through the doors.
Yeah, Tim, that's right. I love effects in music, Lou. If it needs an effect, though, it's not like there's never an always do or never do anything. It's just kind of like whatever's needed for sound design. Small recap of yesterday as we learned the power of volume and we are compartmentalizing the processes. We're focusing on how far we can take the mix just with using volume and panning and using the 3 dimensions of space that we talked about, depth, width, and height. And if you want to go back and recap that, you can at courses.mastering.com. But that's the gist. A lot of people don't take the power of volume to its fullest or use the power of volume to its fullest. So we're really emphasizing that because it really sets you up for success. It's a great mindset. Volume is your most powerful tool, so let's push that as far as you can. It's the least destructive, most powerful thing you can use, so let's push that as far as we can. And then make note of the things that we couldn't fix with volume, that we can be more intentional on a day like today where we're going to dive into EQ and compression and everything else. We can be more intentional with that today, just solving the problems and enhancing the things that volume couldn't do. It's a great process.
And guys, make sure you're writing down your questions too. We'll have like little Q&A segments throughout the session today. So just in case we aren't able to get to your question, kind of hold on to it, write it down, have it kind of on standby, and just kind of keep tossing them in there. We try to answer everything, but we don't always catch everything.
So Mavis Jennings, no, you don't. School is free. These events are free. You don't need to pay $99 a month to, I don't think you have to pay to be in school, right? Did they change anything that I don't know about? Should be free. Yeah, it's free.
Blame yourself, pro. Do I recognize you from IG? Instagram?
We pay for it for you.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Just so you can have a place to have a community and do that. It's worth it for us to do that. Yeah, so yeah, we're switching over. So school doesn't have the replays anymore. We're switching everything over so we don't have to deal with school if we don't want to, but we're switching it over to courses.mastering.com. It's all going to be there, which is totally free.
This is for you too, Sabrina.
Some of
And
these
me.
questions.
Chat settings. Make sure they're set over to every change from hosts and panelists over to everyone.
Oh,
If you're
If any-
replying.
If any
whoops.
of you, yeah, if any of you have hosts and panelists still on your chat settings, here's the screen that you need to look at to fix that. Just so we can see everyone can see your chats. You bought the Pass Analyzer from Waves. Cool. Yeah, $25. Well worth it. It's a great analyzer. All right, well, let's begin.
Sweet.
Shall we begin?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
There's
jump
still
in.
people trickling in, but
Well, before we begin, I just wanted to tell you a quick story that happened to me today. My son asked me, "Have you seen my sunglasses?" I said, "No." "Have you seen my dad glasses?"
I find your dad jokes offensive.
I don't get it.
If there was like a way to cancel
I
you
get
for
it.
bad jokes, I would do it.
I get it now. It took me a while. Do you not even do you have a son for real or no? You do have a son.
Yeah,
Okay.
but he's only
It would make
he's,
it even
he's
funnier if you didn't actually have a son.
I forget you have a son because you talk about your daughter a lot.
he's only 2.
Yeah, he's the
But
newest.
he's very well spoken.
Yeah, dad. All right. Let's dive into this. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Sides, for being here. Fix the Mix Challenge Day 2. Welcome, everybody. If you came back, you're the serious ones. You're the ones we want to talk to and work with and hang out with because you're willing to put in the time, and we respect that. So welcome back to Day 2. Hope you got some good nuggets out of Day 1. You know, it's really the setup stuff, making sure that we have the process set up, volume only mix, kind of a simple day in that respect, but also a very important day to have a great mindset for. In terms of introductions, my name is Caleb Lovelace, Director of Education for Mastering.com. Been in the music industry about 25 years, worn a lot of different hats from A&R to producer to touring musician to everything in between. And I really love working with students as well. I've been teaching for almost 15 years now. We also have Mr. Jake Codeweiss, who did our demonstration yesterday. He is also a long time in the music industry and has done, like me, pretty much everything, worn a lot of different hats. A consummate pro, a great educator. We only hire the best, incredible teachers. And that leads us into our friend Sides, who is also a mentor in our program, but you may know her from her amazing YouTube content, Logic content, production, everything else. She's incredible and so educational. And we had to have her come work with our students too. So we fought and scraped. We wined and dined her that she could come and hang out with us. And we're very
Yeah,
thankful to have
somebody
her.
asked if you guys owe me money. Owe me $1 million.
Yeah, we owe you $1 million. Yeah, exactly. Rob Mazes is in, a screen. He's holding really still, actually. That's Rob there, just holding really still.
Joke gets me every time.
He's the CEO of mastering.com, and he's been educating pretty much longer than anyone in the space. There was a few people that started this over 10 years ago, and you've probably seen his videos over the years, and now he's continuing to educate and gathered us all together, and he's a great leader of this kind of push forward to reinvent audio education for the masses. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. And thanks to our sponsors. IK Multimedia is sponsoring this event. It's free for y'all. We're going to be using their plugins, and we do this with a lot of different people. We have been exploring their plugins ourselves, and there's some really cool stuff. Jake's pretty excited about showing you some of their stuff. And when it comes to plugins, that they're a great company for it, but don't get hung up on needing to buy any certain thing. Buy what you want and what you love and what you want to know, and be careful about those decisions. But they do make great stuff. So
I
if it's not a-
really thank you so much, IK Multimedia. I really enjoy what you got going on with these plugins. You're going to see a lot of that stuff today. I'm excited to show you guys.
Yeah. Someone said T-Rex was a great investment. I'm excited to see you dive into these, Jake, and thanks again to them for making this available to everybody. We could just hang out and get into some education and do it all for free. In day one, like I said, we did a volume only mix. You should have done gain staging through the tricks we taught you, or even just manually to get it usually around -10, but between -10 and 20 dBFS. Then brought all the faders down to negative affinity, and then volume balanced your session to the best of your ability, just using volume and panning only. See how much you could paint in those 3 dimensions of space just with volume, which is your most powerful tool. And also, I hope you made some notes as you went through of things that you were hearing that couldn't be solved. That's the stuff we're going to work on and fix today. The big picture concepts yesterday, the power of volume, the power of intention. Again, you can work with so much more intention if you follow this kind of mindset. And ultimately, I think it's about efficiency and precision. So much of what I work on with people, musicians and engineers and artists and everyone that comes into our program to learn these technical things, what it's really doing is speeding up their processes. So much of it is about speed and efficiency because as we know, and if you, especially for creative people, but even for technical mix and mastering engineers, time is against you in a way. The longer you spend on something, whether it's creatively or in mix and master, doesn't always have great returns. It kind of has diminishing returns at some point. Your ears start to get fatigued. You start to play tricks on yourself. You lose inspiration, all that kind of stuff. So the more proficient you can be with these tools and speed up your processes, the better you can get through mixes and masters in a time that's profitable, but also with a lot more objectivity. But also, if you're a creative, the quicker you can get those creative ideas out of your head and into your DAW. And that is very important too. Those windows of creativity are fleeting. They come in moments of inspiration, and we have to be able to take advantage of those. So efficiency and precision is really important. We also talked about the end in mind perspective. I gave you some mastering thoughts, the kind of the perspective of a mastering engineer when it comes to how we approach frequencies and balance and things like that. We're making the big point here that there's so many things you can do through the process of production and mixing, and even the way you record stuff, that will allow the mastering engineer to do their job and allow your song to really kind of come to life through the mastering process. And there's so many things that you can do that diminish that ability for the mastering engineer. So understanding how mastering engineers think and understanding the mistakes you can avoid through the process is very valuable information. That's why we teach in reverse in our audio school, because that's a great technical foundation and an end-in-mind perspective that can lead to success through the entire process. So we'll talk more about that today. I'm going to give you some more tools at the end of, after Jake does his mixing today. I'm going to give you some more mastering thoughts. And today we'll talk about kind of some dynamic thoughts. We talked about frequencies yesterday. We'll talk about dynamics today. And again, we talked about using frequency analyzers yesterday. So hopefully you can start using those in your mixing process. It's not just a mastering tool. Let's get that balance that we talked about yesterday in our mixes, and then our masters can really come to life. Our goals for today, we're done with volume. We got it sounding pretty good. We noticed there's still a few things left that are going to be items we have to either fix or enhance. We're going to talk about frequencies, how to use dynamics processing tools, how to use frequency processing tools, and also why and when to use spatial processing tools. All three today, but we're only working on instrumentals today. Vocals will be tomorrow. We're going to just have a full day, and we'll probably need it with as many backups and everything that you had on their sides. There's many, many tracks of vocals. So tomorrow will be a deep dive into vocals. Today is all about the instrumentals. And then, of course, I said I'll give you some more mastering mindset at the end of today for those of you who stick around. It's time. Let's dive into mixing. Let me give you a few high-level thoughts for today, things to focus on, things that Jake is going to demonstrate, big picture concepts, not the fine details, but the overall big picture concepts I think are valuable to focus on in the webinar today. The first one is masking. We all struggle with masking, right? How do we clean up that mid-range? How do we separate that low end? How do we get clarity in the upper mids and in the highs? How do we do all that? You know, when we have so many different players and sounds and instruments all taking up so many different frequency ranges, that's not always something that can be affected with volume. It can to a large degree, but not perfectly all the time. You know, there may be things that are sitting in that mid-range or in the lows that are causing some mud, causing buildups. We have a situation here that I'm kind of hypothetical situation where we have two synths and a guitar all sitting in the mid-range. There's potential for masking there. They're building up in those frequencies, causing mud. So how do we deal with this stuff? I know we all kind of understand the concept of how we deal with masking in general. We need to carve out space through frequency processing tools, but let me talk to you about the mistakes that I commonly see people make when it comes to this. I think the mindset anyway that we should come in with is determining when we have buildups and masking issues like this, which parts of each of these instruments is the most important, which is key to the sound of the song. That's the first thing we need to think about. Is synth one, is it really filling out that kind of lower range? Is that where it's powerful? Does it have something that it's really adding there? What is that guitar doing? What is it the best thing it's doing? That's kind of what you start to think about. What's the best thing it's doing? Synth two, the same thing. What's the best thing it's doing? What I see from people, though, once you make that decision, is people generally aren't aggressive enough at clearing out the rest of the range, the rest of the mud, at clearing out the parts of it that aren't as important. I think people generally need to be more aggressive in certain moments with EQ. And I think the reason people aren't aggressive enough sometimes is because they start soloing things, like they solo the guitar, and when they make the move that they should make, suddenly the guitar goes, or the guitar sounds wrong, doesn't sound right. In solo, it doesn't sound right. And so we freak out and we go, oh, it can't be good. And so we do less than we should. And then we put it back in and we're still going, why is there still buildup? Ever had this issue where you're trying to build up the mud, or clean up the mud, but for some reason it doesn't clean up and you're still left with this kind of mud? I think the mindset happens where we're looking too locally. We're soloing stuff and we're thinking about it in the context of itself, but not in the context of the global situation that we have going on. It doesn't matter what's happening in solo nearly as much as what happens in a global sense, how it's relating to everything else. And there's an important thing that we have to realize about the way audio works for the listener, the way acoustic waves work, and the way all this kind of frequencies, kind of a psychoacoustic phenomenon that happens with this stuff. But our ears are kind of trying to determine, as a listener of music, our ears are trying to kind of determine what's going on, and they actually fill in a lot of the blanks that might be missing in things. What I mean is, if you cut all that out of the guitar, but you have that synth there and you have that other synth there taking up those spaces, they all kind of have similar frequencies. They're kind of doing similar things. What the ear starts to hear is as if that guitar was how it was before. What we do sound is this, but what the listener hears is this, because those frequencies are being represented in the other synths to some degree. That's what the listener's ear hears. So we can actually do more than we think we can. And then in context, the ear is actually going to fill in with that psychoacoustic phenomenon, the rest of those frequencies for us. And we have to use that trick if we're ever really going to get a hold of sometimes our low end and our mid ranges. We have to understand that. And if we're like hyper focused on it, we kind of know what's going on. And so our brain is doing something different. But sometimes we need to step back and realize that the listener is going to hear something different than that. So Jake's going to demonstrate what I mean there today. Hopefully that makes sense to you. But ultimately, we can be more aggressive sometimes with our EQ moves, and we need to know when to do that. Let's also talk about some dynamics. Jake has a very unique process when it comes to this, but I also think it's partially what makes his mixes sound really great. And I think I've learned a lot from him in this respect. But he uses a lot more clippers and limiters to control dynamics than I ever really realized you could. And let me explain kind of the difference of why he would use clippers and limiters as opposed to compression. If you're just controlling transient peaks, it's actually much more efficient to use limiters and clippers. I love when I freeze like that. I got to change it. Sorry.
You're not frozen. I thought you were just holding really still.
Yeah, I'm just holding really still. Trust me. Now I'm black. I'm totally dark. Okay. I'd rather do that than look at me like holding my hand in the air like, ugh.
I'm still seeing you hold your hand in the air.
Oh, is it? It's all blank for me. Oh boy.
Stop the screen share maybe, and then reshare the screen. See if that does anything.
Yeah, I'm totally blank on my end. Who cares? Who cares? We're coming back to it. I don't want to lose momentum here. So when it comes to controlling transients, just simple dynamic transient control, clippers and limiters will get you there a lot faster. They're generally like one knob or two knobs to get you to where you want to go in terms of controlling transient information. That's really effective. Now, why do we want to control transient information? We'll talk more about that at the end of the day. There's reasons why you should control some of that stuff because it's going to allow, again, the mastering engineer to use the compression tools they use more properly. If you overwhelm and have all these crazy transients and stuff, it's really hard to use mastering tools effectively to bring your track up to industry standard volume. So not only do we need to understand when it's useful to use clippers and limiters for controlling dynamics, but why we should do it. And Jake's going to give a demonstration today of how much headroom we can save if we think about this stuff and how much that will translate into volume and loudness later. And that's a really great takeaway. When it comes to consistency or enhancement, I think there's especially with enhancement, but there's a lot more use for compressors. There's a place for them too. It's more of a nuanced thing if you really need to like bring out some transients or bring out some body. That's what compressors are really good at. Or slightly tame like a subtle thing. But mostly I think for enhancement, you'll see Jake usually use compressors as a way to enhance. Does this drum part need more attack or does it need more body? You can do that with compressors. You can kind of build that out and give it more weight or give it more of an attack. And it's worth the extra knobs that come with the compressor to do that because you're having to fine tune in your attack and release times and different things like that. So he'll give a demonstration about how he uses compressors more for enhancement and he uses clippers and limiters more for transient peaks. And it's also about consistency. So when it comes to dynamics, the way I like to think about it is a stage maybe full of dancers or actors or something like that. And we have to think about the story we're telling and what the listener is hearing and what we want the listener to pay attention to. That's really what it's about. You can tell a story if you're helping direct what the listener is paying attention to. And it's our job to do that as mix engineers and producers even. We need to tell that story. And the way we do that is we always need to have something that the listener is directed to. And then we need support behind that main object. So if you imagined a dance crew in front of you and there's a soloist out front, but then there's also the background dancers all kind of doing some background stuff that complements the lead dancer. There's two things we can do here in terms of consistency and telling the story. First off, the background dancers can't steal the show. And that's relatable directly to audio. How many times are you listening to something, and if something's not compressed properly or it's not sitting in the mix properly, suddenly that tambourine hit or that this guitar pluck or something sticks out, and suddenly we're not looking at the lead anymore. We're distracted back to the background dancers or the background instruments in this case. So that's a problem. We're not telling an effective story anymore. We've distracted our listener away from the lead. So the use of clippers, limiters, and compression is all about getting those background dancers to be complementary, but never distracting. We're creating consistency through dynamic control. And the same thing goes, and we'll definitely dive into this more tomorrow, the lead dancer also needs to be consistent in its own right, okay? Their moves need to be fluid. And the way to relate that to music is if you're working on a lead vocal and sometimes it's dipping back behind everything or sometimes it's popping too far forward, that's also distracting to the listener. They'll either lose words or they're distracted by why is that so loud now? And then they're stop listening to the lyrics, they stop listening to the story that we're trying to tell. So we're also trying to create consistency for the lead as well as creating consistency for the background. That's the way to visualize it when it comes to creating consistency and telling a story through music. And we have to think about this stuff. So Jake's going to give us a great demonstration today about how to create consistency. He's going to talk about compressors, clippers, and limiters, and hopefully get some golden nuggets away from that stuff. The last thing we'll talk about today is spatial processing. We really like to kind of, for the most part, save that till after you have everything fixed and enhanced the way, because it's really kind of the icing on the cake. I think people may incorporate it too early because they start covering up problems with it instead of waiting to fix all that stuff and then using spatial stuff as just an enhancement. We can't do that. It causes us to cover up problems that we need to solve. We'll end up using it too much or too aggressively because of that. And then our mixes start to sound washy or muddy or distant. They lack punch and stuff like that. So the mindset is, let's get everything sounding really great. For the most part, let's get everything sounding really great first. Let's enhance everything we need to do. Never use spatial processing to cover anything up. And then when we add it, it's just the icing on the cake. The other thing that I see mix engineers, a mistake I see mix engineers make sometimes is they're choosing spatial effects, reverbs, and delays that just don't seem to match tonally or emotionally with what's going on in the song. There's a lot of weight, and I hope you think about this because there's a lot of weight actually that comes with spatial tools. I think we're really connected to our acoustic environments. And I think it's one of the most emotional tools we have. Like saturation is one that I think is really emotional, but spatial processing is it adds a ton of emotion to the track. And there is an emotion that's innate in a track, and each kind of space tends to have its own kind of emotion too. And if those are misaligned, then we're not doing a good job telling the story. We're not in tune with the emotion and we're not enhancing it. So we need to be careful about the types of space we use. Don't just have one that you always go to. Take some time to find something that really fits in and enhances the emotion of the song. So what we're going to teach you to do today is a method that will help you meet all of these parameters. First off, we're going to save doing spatial more towards the end. We're going to be aware of the emotional scene, but we're also going to talk about one other concept that can really help you when it comes to spatial processing. We've found another mistake that's made is spatial tools used too generally or not generally enough. In other words, there's no diversity of spatial or there's too much diversity. Not enough diversity would be like everyone's in a tunnel. Everyone's in one chamber together. Unless that's what you're going for, that's not an effective kind of way to use spatial stuff. It makes everything sound too live for modern production and or too kind of bland sometimes. It's not interesting enough because everything's kind of sitting in the same space. There's moments for that, but it's not usually the thing to do. Or I see people using way too many where everything is kind of has its own space and suddenly everything starts to feel disjointed too. I've felt really disjointed mixes sometimes because they're using space too much in too many different ways. There's too much going on. So what we've tried to develop as a program is like, what's the happy medium between enough diversity to where you get separation, but not so much diversity that you get chaos or too much separation. So we developed kind of this buckets method that we'll teach you today. We found the sweet spot, what we think really helps you have enough, but not too much. And Jacob will teach you this buckets method later today as well when it comes to instrumentals, and tomorrow when it comes to vocals, we'll do both. But these are the things to think about. These are the concepts, the high-level concepts to think about when it comes to spatial processing that can help you get to where you want to go. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. I definitely have many times struggled with that. All right. Those are the concepts to think about. Jake, you ready?
I was born ready.
You're born, huh? I'm glad you were born.
No, I was born.
You were born.
I said I was born ready.
You're welcome, Vasco. Struggling finding a spot for the flute. Yeah.
Adam says, "Invisible Caleb has spoken."
What in the world? So annoying. Am I invisible to y'all?
Yeah.
Or am I frozen?
Yep. It's just like gray screen. Yeah. Now it's Tesseract. Now it's gray screen.
If you want to know why we have the Tesseract logo as our logo, maybe I'll try like leaving and coming back.
Sounds good. Better give me host first.
I will.
Whoops.
Yeah, all of a sudden I just end the webinar for everybody. Be right back. I'm going to try to have my face.
Sounds good. Okie dokie. Oh, thank goodness he's gone. Right? Now we can have some fun. All right, guys, you ready to go? Let's do Jorge had a great suggestion. Let's do 123,456,789 in the chat if you're ready to move forward. Look at you guys. Not bad with commas and everything. Woo! So impressed. What is happening? Someone says. Too much. All right. Fair enough. Can you guys see this? All right. See my screen? You see my little red mouse moving around? That's a 1 is just fine for that. Yeah. Okay. And let's see here. We still have Invisible Caleb, it looks like.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm gonna test the audio here. Guys, let me know if the audio is in a good place.
Broke again, swallowed your pride and you choked again. Losing your mind, make it make some sense. You put in the time, how could you still be this far behind? Never had enough, your life's been tough. You're living for the moment, don't you wanna get that ace been played? No one saves the day, take a hold, you gotta own it. Don't you wanna get that cash? Don't you wanna get that cash? Don't you wanna? No, you
Good levels.
You say I got it wrong, you say I need it, you say I should be the one to get it. Hell, I could've made that jump in, and I could've made that something. She said, don't you wanna get that couch?
Oh, oh, no use telling me that you want to. Only you can get up and go and get that new day. Riding up on this new wave. Only you can get up and go and get that. Call me when you can cash out. I wanna run away with you. Call me when you can cash out. I wanna run away with you. Call me when you can cash out. I wanna run away with you. Call me when you can cash out. I wanna run away with you. No use telling me that you want to. Only you can get up and go and get that new day. Riding up on this new wave. Only you can get up and go and get that. No use telling me that you want to. Only you can get up and go and get that new day. Riding up on this new wave. Only you can get up and go and get that.
Nice. Awesome. Lovely. I think we're in a great spot for this. Volume only mix sounds pretty good. Where we're going to go next, I was just writing kind of like a couple notes here, more high end on the drums. There's probably opportunity to just brighten this mix up quite a bit in a few different places. And then low mid cleanup was kind of the other thing that was kind of popping out to me. There's a lot of low mid content in there. And a lot of that is coming from the stacks of vocals. Now, let's just take another quick listen here to the instrumentation and see if we're still kind of hearing low mid build up happening there, or if it is specifically from the vocals. Yeah, so probably some a little bit to do here to carve out. I think the majority of the low mid buildup is happening on the vocal. But in terms of instruments, these are the places that I would like to look. Guitars sound fine. Maybe some synths. Right? Bass kick, piano synths. Those kind of areas. Right? Cool. Well, let's go there first. Let's do a little bit of oh, now my voice is too loud. My voice is too loud? Is that true? Is my voice too loud? It's not too loud. Some people say it's loud, some people say it's good, some people say it's just right, some people say it sucks. Some people say, Jake, stop talking.
I always get a
You-
couple people that think my synths are fake. Like it's a background.
Oh yeah?
I always get a couple people.
They are real though.
Maybe they're not. Maybe I don't even know.
Huh?
Huh? What?
What is real?
What is reality?
Okay,
Scratch mixing instrumentals. Let's have a philosophical conversation about the reality of the universe.
Back
Side
to
you go
mixing.
first.
The realities of the universe.
Yeah, if you could just break that down in like a short
Universe.
sentence.
Let's start from the top.
So the reality is that humans humans try to like legally bound people, but people can't be legally bound to anything. We're just animals.
Grr.
So you feel like human nature will always rail against the oppressors, that we have some survival instinct in us.
I think, yeah.
Well,
I think
cool.
I think it can't be put to like a
That's that then.
paper and pencil.
Well, we may be about to find out. All right, back to mixing. Sorry, everybody. Derailed.
We'll find out after low mid cleanup.
Let's get back to what's really important here. This mix.
Let's listen to this chorus. Oh, I thought I had a couple references in here already.
Do
I thought I did.
they're in the project.
They're in the session. They're just not in my usual plugin.
Mm.
Okay. Well, let's check them out. I'm actually going to dump these into my usual plugin. Bear with me, guys. I like this one.
Chronically online.
Yeah, that was a session I was working on for a client.
Oh, that's their song title?
Yeah. Let's see here. What was I doing? I was doing a Dua Lipa and a Katy Perry and a Dua Lipa. Boop. That's it. Yeah. And then we'll take a chorus. We'll do a chorus. And then we'll do a chorus. I'm guessing those are choruses. Let's find out.
Yeah.
No use telling me that you want to. Hurt me with the will and get back. New day, riding up on this new wave. I'm Harry, I'm not where you left back. Oh, so somebody's done it. Don't show up, don't come out, don't talk. Who tried to hurt me with the word goodbye.
Kind of got like an anti-chorus going on there, so I'm going to pick the verse because it's just got a little bit more instrumentation. Yeah, so the most obvious thing for me is just the drums, the brightness in the drum and the vocal, right? But in terms of the instrumentation, we're talking about drums. So let's brighten those up first. And let's work on our mix and not Dua Lipa's. This whole thing can come up, so I'm going to start right on the drum bus there. And oh boy, T-Rex. Let's do this guy. Actually, no, I don't want to do this guy. I want to do PB or PA. I have something very kind of specific in mind here. It's not either of those. We can use a pull tack on the drums. I don't want to do that either, though.
No hip hop this month, but it doesn't matter. Rock, hip hop, pop, all these principles apply to all of it. There's no special process for any other genre.
Drums are a little bit brighter.
Let 'em
All
know
I
what you
did.
Yeah, let them know what you did there.
Yep, all I did here was a shelf at 10K. That is literally all I did. It was a shelf at 10K, boosting about 5 decibels. And I can show you what this actually looks like on a little bit more of a visual EQ, if you're more of a visual person. Let's do equal. That's just like going like this. Same thing, right? This other EQ has a slightly different sound. Why don't I use Logic stock EQ? Because we're using IK Multimedia plugins today. So there's a difference between these EQs. It's a very subtle kind of character difference. But we'll go ahead and just kind of flip these on and off. And maybe you can hear it, maybe you can't, and that's okay too. We're going to start with this one, and then I'm going to switch over to this one. You see why I instinctively kind of went for this one?
Yeah.
For those of you, I mean, it's a preference,
Buttery.
but it's, yeah, there's almost like a smoothness to it. And now we're getting on like the next level of detail listening, right? We can say, hey, both of these EQs are brighter, but one of them adds a little bit of extra than just brightness, than just boosting frequencies up. This
Yeah.
EQ specifically is modeled after circuitry, right? And when we push signal through circuitry in the real world, in the analog realm, there's an imperfection that comes along with that, and a saturation, and harmonics are actually added to the signal, which is probably why this one sounds a little bit more pleasing to the ear, right? There's a little bit of kind of like tickly kind of excitement with it, as well as some depth and some warmth, right?
I actually super love that sound of that. You're right. That's pretty cool. I'm impressed by the butteriness. Pretty
Dude, I'm
cool.
telling you, these plugins, like, they've done a really great job with these. And it's just a very small move. You know, this is a 10K shelf. It's all it is on the drums, right? Here it is with and without. You guys hearing the difference? Yeah. Now, if we were to go over here, let's see if we pushed it too far or if we've got if we can push it even further.
Use the gun. Try to with the word goodbye, though it's
I think we could push it a little bit farther compared to the reference.
to goodbye, though it's
I think that works for everything except for the snare. So I might just kind of. We don't have to get it precise. Just a ballpark, right? Because if we listen to the rest of these mixes,
hurt me with the word dance to me. I'm levitating, scratch that baby out there.
right? There's plenty of wiggle room there. So like some of them are brighter, some of them are not as bright, right? So I think that's a tendency that a lot of us get to like start to fall into is at least earlier on in the learning curve. You want to, if you're just working with one reference, you get sucked into wanting to copy it exactly, right? And play that precision game rather than giving yourself the flexibility of multiple references. And instead, looking at mixing is more of like a ballpark, right? I want to get in the ballpark here because that's the reality of the situation is every mix is so different. Every mix has different mix elements. Every mix has a billion trillion decisions that was made all along the process. You're never going to hit it exactly on the head. So give yourself relieve yourself of that pressure of trying to match things exactly and just try to get in a ballpark. And ultimately it comes down to the song, right?
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents. That's the way I like to think about it. So I think this is sounding, I mean, pretty solid so far. Let's get some of these other parts in here. And let's work on our mix and not Dua Lipa's. I'm going to just save a little bit of this low end energy by rolling off the drums about 30 hertz. ish. Wonder how steep I can go with this. $20. I don't think it's 20. That's not 20 decibels per octave, is it? Doesn't seem like. Maybe it is. See if that tightens up the kick, the thumpiness of the kick. I can't even hear it. It's just inaudible.
But it is energy saved.
Yeah, I mean, you can't hear it if it's there. So might as well just kind of save it. And then down the line, when we start to push that through dynamics processing and mastering, you'll have that energy saved and it won't trigger your dynamics processing, your compressors, limiters, clippers, things like that.
Y'all know what y'all know what we mean by that? Subfrequencies carry a lot of weight. Compressors pick up on them a lot. Even the ones you can't hear. We couldn't even hear those. Most people are not going to be able to hear down below 30 or 40 hertz, and most subs don't there's not much useful information in music down that low. It's just kind of a rumble that doesn't need to be there for the song to be impactful. So if by cutting it out, you save yourself headroom and your compressors and everything start reacting better, it's that kind of stuff that will matter to a mastering engineer later.
Okay, let's figure out this base relationship. First, the relationships between these bases. And that's our Moog. No, that's not. What we were listening to was our sub. So here's our sub on the left, our Moog on the right. That makes more sense.
You're like, what?
So I think we can probably save all of this kind of muddiness and kind of scoop that out, since this sub is kind of taking up that area. See how there's all this content down here on the Moog? But here's the thing, sub's already filling that. So is there really a need to stack all of that energy on top of each other? Or can we get away with taking some of it out of the Moog? The only part I'm concerned with is the ba-ba-bow. That part. No, won't matter. So in solo, that Moog now sounds like this. Before EQ, we got that low end, right? With EQ. We're just taking out all of this low end information up until about 150 because what's already living there? The sub, right?
This
The
is
subs-
like a easier one to, like what I was talking about, an easier one to understand. The sounds are so similar that it's like kind of obvious, but this same principle is true for, you know, similar sounding instruments as well, guitars and synths and different things that could sit in the mid range. So this is an example of that.
And the only reason I went here is because the low end seems it seems muddy to me. Like I'm hearing that. I'm in tune to that and I'm hearing it. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, where's that low mid? Where's the low end kind of like mud or buildup coming from? So in context, I actually think this can even come up in the mix.
Thinking, get up and go and get that new day. Riding up on this new.
My first instinct here was to turn the Moog up even more and add a little bit more high end to it. That was my first instinct. But then I remembered there's a vocal. Then I remembered, oh, wait, this isn't complete context. And what's the star of this show? Oh, yeah, it's the vocal. Maybe we wait to make that decision for when we're working on the vocals and we're kind of massaging those into the arrangement as well, right?
Yeah.
Who gets into that though? Like who falls into that mindset? And then all of a sudden start rabbit holing into, oh man, this now I need to spend an hour on the Moog.
Yeah. Context is king.
Yeah. I think that there's one thing to kind of take away from this whole event. It's that, you know, high level. Anyway, let's continue. I think this bass can probably just in general get out of the way of the kick a little bit. So let's kind of manage this, this relationship, just this low end relationship that we got going on.
How many times do we say rabbit hole in our curriculum?
So
In the
many.
reverse engineer. We talk about it at nauseum. I'm sure there's a drinking game with our students for that one.
So this is a tough one because we've got these things happening. There's more room for that, you know, there's more room for that kick. when those two elements hit at the same time, it's a big spike in that 50 hertz. You know, and part of what's so powerful about this is this part and this production in general is that there is sub content on the bass. You know, some other songs I might be like, hey, okay, fine. Like there's those two elements have a fighting relationship. Well, maybe I'll just roll the bass up to like here, right? But for this track, I want the subs of the bass to remain. Like I like that kind of 30 to 50 kind of rumble, and I think it's important to have that there. So we can do a few things. Thing number one is just use some static EQ to carve out a little bit of that 50 hertz on the sub, right? That's thing number one. I'm going to write these down. Static EQ, or I'll just say like pocket EQ on bass. Number two, my mindset here is number two, sidechain. Duct bass for kick. And that would be with like a multiband. To just target that 50 hertz area or just target the area that is conflicting or fighting. Right. And we're going to try both today. How many of you are excited for this? I think this might be the first FTM that I do a sidechain kick drum relationship.
I can't think of another time you did.
Usually they're just not fighting to that point, or it's just not, you know, whatever the circumstances just don't go towards it. You know?
Which might mean, because everyone asks for it every time, that maybe people are using that too often because they heard about it one time on a YouTube video and they're going, "That's what you do." It's not so much about that. It's usually best solved with EQ if you can, and then if not, then go to sidechain. And there's a reason why that will sound better in that case.
It's just a tool in the kit, guys.
Tool in the kit.
Just because you can doesn't mean you always should. Anyway, I think this style, we can get away with it and still sound like get the sound that we're targeting, right? So
Yeah.
anyway.
When you have to use it, it's going to sound better.
Yeah.
But you don't always have to.
Let's see what we got. So we'll try both. We'll start by doing just a little bit of carving here. Already sounding better to me. Just at a, you know, pretty extreme kind of cut. You know, that kick just goes, boom, and just punches you right in the gut. Now let's sidechain it. Actually, let's listen in context. The trick here is not to listen to the bass, listen to the kick. Okay? So I'm going to play this again. I'm going to turn the plugin on and off. I want you to listen to the kick. Are you guys hearing that? It's very subtle, but there's a difference. There's a tightness, and it's almost kind of like a feeling. Now that's just with a static EQ. Now let's start to duck that. Use another method here. Where is it? I'm not familiar with all the names yet. Quad comp. There it is. Oh, I can't sidechain this? No. Tell me there's gotta be a sidechain function on this. Oh no. Oh no. I was sure there was a sidechain.
Wah, wah.
Oh. I'm sad.
Sad chain.
Sad chain. Boo-hoo. Try the opto? I don't think that's a multiband. That's not a multiband. Come on. We gotta have a linkable multiband here, huh?
Is the equal dynamic? Does it have a dynamic option on the equal?
Don't know. Top right is not it, guys. Top right is that's something else. That allows you to kind of switch through plugins. Let's see. And I don't believe there's a dynamic mode on the equal either. Well, that's it. Now I'm sad. Webinar over. Ooh. I will. I'll check.
Was that the quad comp you were using?
Yeah, quad comp. That's okay. We'll take a look in here and see what else we got. You know what? Let's take a look at this guy. Nope, doesn't look like we have a sidechain option in here. I thought that was my thought, was that maybe the distressor would have a sidechain option. There's an internal sidechain.
Gonna have to use the good old Logic plugins.
I think so.
Retreat, Logic plugins.
I got a better idea.
Cheater.
We're gonna use this guy.
Just a big cheater.
Well, let's leave it to you guys. You want to use a Logic plugin, or do you want to use Trackspacer? Either one. There's no wrong answer.
Logic.
Seeing a lot of Logic.
Logic.
Logic is the logical choice. All right, fair enough. We'll use a logic one. And the people have spoken. So says Invisible Caleb.
I'm not invisible.
Oh yeah, you're not invisible anymore.
I just had to use my display camera, which isn't very good.
Does the multipressor have a sidechain function? I don't believe it does.
Come on, Sides, this is your moment.
No, I don't think so. I always use just like the regular compressors.
We can do that too if we don't want to do a multi-band. But what it will do is it will duck the sub signal when it's keyed. Nope, so that won't work. So we can either go fab filter, multiband compressor, or we can go track spacer. That's an even split. I'm just using track spacer. That's the easiest one. And we're going to sidechain it to the kick. Kick. Now this will automatically duck the competing frequencies wherever we tell it to. So we've got these filters here, which is telling track spacer, hey, ignore everything that's going on in this shaded area and only pay attention to what's conflicting in the area that's not shaded. So we have a filter there, and then we have another filter here. So we're going to focus this on just the competing area, which was around that 50 hertz. So I'm going to kind of bring it around here, maybe 40-ish to 60, 70, 65. Let's see what happens. Which one? Oh, and I've actually still got my EQ on it. Pay attention to the kick. I mean, I think for this, I'm gonna go with the just static EQ. And I also think that the difference is like this and completely negligible to me. Like I could use it, you pick either one and it's not gonna make that big of a difference. But both of them are carving out that same area, carving out the same space. There's a little bit of motion there. I'm just gonna stick with static. I kind of like the consistency, honestly. I think that's what I like about the static EQ is that the bass is just consistent. Cool. Done. Moving on. Let's clean up some of these low mids on the keys. Let's see how much we can get away with here. What I like to do is kind of listen in context and get rid of this low end energy just until I can hear a change in the tone in context. And then as soon as I hear a change in the tone of the instrument, of the frequencies that I want to hear, the ones that are contributing musically to the intention of the track, then I will back off. Does that make sense? That's what we're going to be listening for. Here we go. And this is the sound we're listening for. Okay. No difference, right? No audible difference there because everything else that's sitting in this area, your brain just fills in those gaps, just fills in the frequencies.
Yep. And look
Right.
at all that space we saved.
So yeah, that's all I really did is I took that, just removed all those lower notes basically. And if you wouldn't want to, if you don't want to get rid of them, you don't have to get rid of them either completely, right? Like you can do anything you want. You can use a shelf if you want. I just tend to be a little bit more aggressive with my moves.
Yeah. Devon Terrell really likes to do the shelf these days. He likes how it sounds. He's another one of our mentors. He is all about the shelf. He feel and to his point, a lot of like analog EQs are doing shelves, not cuts like that.
Just really deep shelves. Like that's what all the circuitry actually is. It's effectively the same thing, right?
Yeah.
With circuitry and stuff like that. But anyway, it's all up to you. What do you like?
Folks are asking for a 5-minute break and also wanted to do a Q&A with Sides before she heads out for the day. So why don't we do both at the same time?
Cool.
Yes,
That sounds
Ty,
great.
that's what I was talking about before. Look how aggressive that cut is. And there's others we're gonna do that are be just as aggressive. Soloed, it lost all the life of that piano part or whatever that is, Juno or something.
Yeah.
It didn't sound right, but in context, there was literally no difference because those frequencies are being taken up by the bass and other things. So these are the
There's
these
a
are the
there's a
little
little bit.
things we do that adds up to clean mix and a lot of headroom.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a little bit of difference in terms of just the throatiness of the low end, right? There's that buildup, that low mid kind of low end buildup that's kind of
Yeah,
causing a lack of tightness
Yeah.
in that area of the mix and a lack of it's separation. What I mean by tightness, I mean separation, right? Where it's kind of like that's what we mean when things sound muddy or mushy. It means there's a lack of separation and clarity between instruments and between parts down in a specific frequency, region. It's not always the low end, sometimes it's the high end, sometimes it's upper mids, whatever, right? We just describe the lows masking in the low end as muddy or mushy or woofy. And then when it happens in the high end, it's we call it either smeared or harsh, mostly harsh. This is kind of terminology, right? Or brittle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
See, to clarify, the instrument sounds the same. The mix sounds cleaner, just less muddy, which is what we're going for.
Uncle Brother asked a really good question here. Why didn't you also cut some of the high end? I wasn't hearing the high end as being the issue. I was hearing the low end being the issue. That's what I'm paying attention to right now. In context, we are lacking high end just across the board. So there's no reason for me to really save energy there. It's not even there to save. It's just not up to that point. So that's my thought process there.
That's right. Yeah, and someone asked how much headroom have we saved? Quite a bit. We've saved many bothans worth of headroom, for sure.
Moo asks how much total energy has been saved. 4.
Many bothans worth.
I don't know. I'm not a math guy.
Christopher
I know I
gets
ask you guys to give me numbers all the time, but I really just kind of go by ear. Nerd. Fair enough. All right, I'm gonna step away for a minute so that we can answer some questions.
Yeah, nerd.
Okay, somebody asked.
But before we get to sides, there's one really important thing that I need to discuss really quick, which is how much of Star Wars did George Lucas steal from Dune? Good Lord. Give
How
me a
much
break.
of
It's like the same movie.
I feel like all like movies are like the same.
I mean, there's there's so many like literal parallels. He definitely stole stuff from Dune. I'm just saying. All right.
Someone said, oh, someone asked me a question about, wait, Caleb, you're leaving? I feel so lonely up here.
Stay.
Is it possible for you to talk? Well, someone asked me a question first about how I EQ my vocals. So I am not a perfectionist at all, and I just throw on like the stock Logic EQ, and I kind of already like know my vocals to like what I like to assign. So I'll just like roll off some lows and then just raise some of the highs. Like that's pretty much all I do. Like I'm not doing anything like crazy because like when I'm doing my vocals, like for me, I'm just gonna be posting them on my like Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. So I'm not really doing too much stuff. My room is treated, so maybe that helps. I don't know, but that's about as far as I'm going with my
Have you run your room through our acoustic truth module though? Sides.
Oh, I haven't, but I should.
You should. I bet we'll
But I have
find
like
some
a
problem
proper
areas for you.
professional come here and measure
We'll
it
see.
and
We'll see.
like
We'll see. Let's see. We should check it how well they did.
get him involved because
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to go down for this. And then someone asked, Sides, is it possible for you to talk a bit about how your book is different from Logic Pro manuals and YouTube tutorials? So my book is literally just like a crash course. I really wanted to make something that you didn't have to spend 9 hours watching. Those are great, but I wanted to just make something that you can quickly. Here, I literally can just show you because I was working on something because I added a little update that I'm really proud of. This is so stupid, but like somebody asked if like they go to the table of contents, like if they can just like click on the chapter, and I didn't know how to do that, but I just edited it. So like if you were like, okay, piano roll tricks, and then you click on it, it just takes you to like the piano roll page. So this is like pretty much, it's really just like a crash course. It's good for anybody that's a beginner or somebody that's a Grammy Award winner. Like there are Grammy Award winners that have bought this and have sent me a message like, thank you so much. So that's about my little book. That's what's different about it. And there's also a video guide that you can go through. And if you don't know how to do something from the book, you can reference it in the video guide and it comes together. Sides, do you have any tips for tuning your vocals? Yours sound great, or we'll cover this tomorrow. I imagine Jake will cover a lot more. Will he talk about tuning? No, because tuning is already done. So tuning, I like to use, I try to sing on as much on pitch as possible. Try to just like nail it, hole in one, like Caleb would say, or I would redo it.
Yeah.
But
Don't come record with me unless you're ready to nail
yeah.
it.
So I just try to like nail it, hype myself up. Sometimes what I do, I find that I do like better when I have an audience. So sometimes I'll even like go live on like Instagram or TikTok just so I can have like an audience to like hype me up. Or sometimes I just hype up myself. And then to tune them, if I'm tuning them myself, I'll just do like spot tune, which is just like in Melodyne, or sometimes even just in Logic's Flex Pitch because I'm lazy. Um, going through some of these comments. Does anyone else have any like specific questions for me? And if not, I'll leave you with the true mixing and mastering masters.
There's
Which
a few
is
more. There's a few more questions. I'm gonna run grab another drink.
how did you get the punch with the bass and kick? So I don't know. We just like picked sounds we liked.
That's the answer. It's picking the right sounds.
Yeah, I pretty much will always use like a Moog and like yeah, like and I did this with Luke, and Luke, I don't know, it's really great when you like work with I don't ever collab with people, but it was really nice collabing with Luke because like every single thing he did, I was like, yes, I love it. And hopefully he felt the same way about me. But it was just so easy, and we were just like, it really feels like you're like speaking the same language. You're just like, yes, and then we just get it, and we did it like so quick. So it was really not a lot of overthinking or like trying to impress one another. We just like did things that we liked. And yeah, I listen to a lot of like the kind of music I make is the kind of music I listen to. So I feel like that might impact a lot of my decisions. um how did you learn Logic so well? Well, it's crazy. Like I feel like I know Logic like really, really well, but still like every day I'll learn something new in Logic. Like it's like it's such a kind of wild program, but I just learn a lot from like using it and from hanging out with other Logic Pro people. And I read the manuals, and I always read like the new updates when they come out. I'll just like read the manual sometimes. It's fun for me to find ways to make my workflow faster. Um, do you auto tune? So I personally typically don't use auto tune unless it's like an effect, but I would Melodyne first before I would auto tune. But I don't know, maybe Jake does things differently, or Caleb. I don't know. What do you guys do?
You know, I prefer manual tuning myself.
So
Manual pitch correction.
you do Melodyne
Yeah.
and then auto tune?
Not typically. I just won't use it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
might
Where
I
you
might
auto tune as an
hard
effect.
tune. No, like yeah, unless it's a like T-Pain, right? I'm doing
Yeah.
a T-Pain effect. Otherwise, I typically don't use it. Maybe I will hard tune some like backing vocals, right? So I want my lead vocal to be really typically pretty natural sounding and open sounding. I
Yeah.
don't want all those auto tuning kind of like bubbles and artifacts when you change pitch. But with backing vocals, I don't care. Because in context, you can't hear any of that stuff. And it really like a lot of times it just gets those backing vocals to sit just really, really nice in the mix, you know? So just my personal workflow, my thoughts on it.
Someone asked a really good question. Says, do you feel like you're more of a tutor or a producer? I feel like I'm more of like a music creator. Like I'm just an all-encompassing thing. And I like to do as many things as I possibly can. Like I love nerding about Logic Pro, but also nerding about marketing and also nerding about sales and also creating businesses and also creating music for businesses and just like a lot of things that like I wouldn't say like I'm just anything. I'm not just a singer. I'm not just like to write songs. So don't feel like you guys have to like put yourselves in boxes.
Yeah, I
Just
think music
do what you like.
creator is that's a really great answer. That's awesome. That makes sense.
Sides, when you traveled working as a vocalist, did you have your pup with you? No, I didn't have my pup. Leo is a COVID dog. So he was the result. I probably wouldn't have a dog if it wasn't for COVID. But I had lost all my gigs and was sad, so I got a doggy. And now I don't leave my home. It's really hard to travel with a dog, honestly, because how do you? Um, okay, I'll just answer like a few more questions and then I'll let the lads take it away.
You got a call in 15 minutes? Is that true?
Yeah, I
Oh, I
do.
didn't realize it was that soon.
Um, oh, so I'll give you guys a special link for my Logic book. Somebody asked about where to get it, and here's 50% off. So I hope you guys like it. What are the top DAWs? The top DAW is whatever DAW you like using. That's the top DAW. It's about the producer, or it's about the creator behind the DAW, not the DAW itself. I like Logic, but it's up to you. Quick tip on finishing songs faster. I would say don't overthink it. Like me, Luke and I did like a really good job with that, where we were just like, we're just getting it done. We have like a bajillion things to do, bajillion projects. And I would just say, like, just get it done. Don't overthink it. And if you're stuck on it, like just, just finish it and then get on to the next song. Like finish, get on. If you don't love it, that's okay. Just finish it. And then you can go to the next song and then you can come back to it. But I would say just like get it done and finish it. Sometimes just like put on a timer and be like, okay, I'm going to finish the song in 3 hours and I'm breaking it up in 45-minute sections. I don't know. Sometimes even just giving yourself those like hard like timelines help. At least
You
that's
know what
my opinion.
helps? Getting some work.
Yeah.
That helps.
How much time on the production did we spend? Well, I don't know how much time Luke spent, to be honest, but I spent like quite a few. Yeah, I don't even know if I can put like an hour on it. I was just having so much fun with it that I wasn't really like thinking of like a time. I mean, it took us like 3 weeks back and forth, give and take. Um, someone said they want to be like me when they grow up. Well, I'm not special, so you
I
definitely
do.
can.
I want to be like you when I grow up.
Oh, thanks.
Me too.
Um, does anyone have any last question? Am I a graduate of the reverse engineer? Maybe I'm an honorary graduate. I don't know.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, honorary graduate of NYU.
You mentor.
Yeah, I'm a mentor. I work.
You're an honorary graduate.
Quick question. Working in the box or analog gear? I'm doing everything just in the box. Um, and I think that's it. think that's all the questions. The book probably won't help for Pro Tools, so I don't imagine that it would translate very well. It's very specific, Logic Pro. But if anyone else wants to make a crash course on their DAW, I highly recommend it because I feel like there's not very many. I haven't seen any of those out there actually. So I think it'd be cool. I wish someone would make a crash course for like Final Cut Pro or like Adobe. I don't want to like take 3 years to learn it. I just want all the secrets.
All the nugs. Yeah.
Um,
There's a
Someone
really good
asked, what's
question
the
here.
difference between a hormone and an enzyme? I wanted to get to that one. No?
wait, a what?
A hormone and an enzyme.
Is that like a medical term?
Yeah. I want to ask the difference between the two.
Oh,
hormones
Endive.
hormones are-
Endive is like a Japanese lettuce, isn't it?
I thought it was like a digestive enzyme, like a medicine that you take, and a hormone is like,
What they put in your milk.
I'd say
right?
enzymes are like biological catalysts, probably, that speed up reactions in cells, and hormones travel through your body and trigger processes in organs and cells.
so someone asked, when do you know when you're ready to take clients?
That's the one I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. What do you think? I
Do
think
I-
you're. Oh, what were you go?
Probably gonna say the same thing. I have 2 points, right? Okay. Number one is you should start if that's your goal. I say just start working with people right now, right away, and just
I was
do
gonna
free
say.
stuff with people. Just do free
Yeah.
stuff. Just start working and getting through the workflow of working with other people. Now, that being said, there's a skills element that has to come into play, right? Like that's not addressing your abilities. So I think abilities wise, I think if you can hold yourself to, can I confidently make music that will sit well in a playlist with my reference tracks? That's how you know that you've got like a decent skill that you can start to actually charge for, right? So that's the skill criteria that I would shoot for. However, in terms of working with other people, it's never like you just do that right now. Start working with other people.
I mean, that's just the best way you're gonna learn. I would say like free, or like when I first started, I was charging people like $75 or something, very little. It's kind of sometimes it's almost better to charge even just a little bit because you want people to be serious and not just like, I feel like
I was gonna
sometimes
say, yeah, I was gonna say, free stuff is great at the very, very beginning. Obviously, you got to get as much education as you can, but don't get caught in the rut of free stuff or cheap stuff for people for very long. There are people, once you get the skill level up and you get more confident, that will pay you well for your work. But I think a lot of people get stuck in the desperation of like any work they can take. But the reality is that bad work is hard, and bad work doesn't help your reputation, and bad work usually means bad clients, and they're the hardest to work with. So get your chops, but like at some point break through the mindset of the guy down the road that wants to pay you $50 for a mix, and his
yeah.
stuff,
And
and he'll
if
hate what you do anyway, to people that will respect what you do.
And someone asked, like, I think someone asked, like, how do you get better? I would say, like, something that I recommend everybody do, and I've learned this in like a different way. I learned this from like hosting them, but like remix competitions are a really great way because you'll get like the same vocal stems and you'll hear so many different productions of the same exact song, and then you can learn different things from having that. And then it's also like a great way to gain like exposure from people. Like, just a really fun little story. One of the first songs I made was a remix competition. Like, I did a remix competition and someone did like a beautiful orchestration of my song, and I was live on TikTok just like listening to all of my remix competition songs. And somebody, which is so funny you say this, Caleb, like somebody on there like was listening to the remix live stream on TikTok just from the comfort of their own homes, was a music supervisor for like trailer movies like Dune. He was literally like, I do this. Just was hanging out, whatever, listens to that remix contest of this guy that made a beautiful like string orchestration of my song. And now, like years later, that guy who did the remix contest for me sends me an email being like, because of that remix contest, I met all these people, and now I'm working for like Hans Zimmer's like composing company. And it's like, it's just so crazy. Like, you never know like who's gonna give you kind of like a platform to like showcase your talents. And like a lot of people have like either met people via, and I'm not trying to like gas myself up. It has nothing to do with me. It could be anybody. Like the remix contests, I think, are just like a great way to one, learn and to like get in. And whenever you guys see those opportunities that is a song that you vibe with or something that you can like showcase your skills, take those, I think.
I agree.
I totally agree. Sides like there's so many times in my career where a break happened in such an unexpected place with at a show with three people or you know, you never know when it's going to happen. So you can just get your chops really good that you can blow people away, and then that if you have that, then the time will come where someone's listening, and you'll get the chance.
Yeah, I agree. I think another really great thing about that, about remix competitions, is that it injects the time aspect into your projects, right? Like, how many of you have had songs that you just work on for years and years and years and just don't even release? You know, you just got hard drives full of stuff, right? With a remix contest, you've got this date, you can download the stuff, and then you're required to submit it by this date, right? There's no better motivator than time. Time is really all we have. We're not going
Okay.
to dig into philosophy, but there's no better motivator than time. And then all of a sudden you're tossed into something that you have to complete by a deadline. And now you're learning based on necessity. You don't have to say, oh my God, I don't know enough to get this done. You're looking things up as you need to look them up. You're learning things on the spot in order to hit that deadline. That's going to push you to complete projects, right? Make sense?
So
Yeah, I think when it comes to time, it really only matters if we live in a finite universe or an infinite universe that's ever expanding. They have really different ramifications for what that will mean for us. I agree with you.
Exactly what I was thinking.
well, I think I gotta run so I
See
can
ya.
jump on the
Yeah.
next call. But I'll see everyone tomorrow. I will be here tomorrow. And I did put the link. People keep asking for the link. I did put it in the chat. I know there's a lot going on in the chat. If for whatever reason you can't find it, you can always like send me an email or scroll. It's there. Thank you. Hearts.
Awesome. Hearts.
I can't wait to hear how much my song changes by tomorrow. And I will be here tomorrow bright and early.
Sweet. We'll see you then. Have a good call.
See ya.
All right. Last question.
Because you know, if it's a not an ever expanding universe, if it has some finite nature to it, then we're kind of in the apple in a box paradox, and we'll live.
Question for Jake. Would you apply the sample delay effect during the volume only and panning mix, or do you wait until you start working on the instruments to begin doing that? My personal workflow is I will add a sample delay effect during my volume balance and my panning. That's what I like to do. Today, we're doing it in the instrumental. Let's jump in, shall we?
Shall we? Oh, I love you.
I love you too, buddy. I'm glad. It's nice to work with someone who gets me.
Jake and I were fast friends.
Not everybody gets me.
I get you. And I like what I get.
Oh, even better. All right, let's dig back in here, guys. You ready to go? One's in chat. You ready to go? Can't see. Are there any ones in there?
Yeah, let's carve this turkey.
Mm-hmm. A little bit more. See how much we can save here. So I'm actually going to preemptively kind of clear out a little bit of this space for the vocals. I know the vocals are going to be sitting there.
Also, it's an octave part of the same part, and the point that the producer was trying to just have more sparkle in this part. So the valuable part of this whole sound is just what it's doing in the top end. The rest of it's the same as what the other instrument is doing. It doesn't need to exist.
Yep, exactly. This area. This is the area that gives us all that excitement, right? And all that energy. So we're leaving that alone, but taking down some of this mid-range. Now, without the vocals, my instinct is not to do that at all.
Right.
But let's listen to the vocals.
No use telling me that you want to. Only you can get up and
Sitting right in that pocket, right? So it's like they're going to be clearer anyway. And we'll see that. I'll demonstrate that tomorrow once we start to work on vocals a little bit more.
Instant vocals.
Instant vocals.
I would almost actually interpret that anyway without the vocals, because it's a duplicate and it's a higher octave of the thing. So what were they trying to do? I would just assume that they wanted that similar sound but with more brightness.
Dude, I mean, we could even
Carve-
explore.
You could probably carve it.
Yeah, we can even explore what that sounds like. I like it better like that.
I like it better, especially knowing now, to your point, especially knowing that the vocals are going to be sitting in there too. On its
Okay,
own, though,
so
it's going to sound weird. If you were to solo it and make this move, you wouldn't do it right.
You're like, oh no, I screwed my sound. But in context. I'm actually going to turn it up a little bit here too now.
Yep.
Just a touch. Now that low mid area is starting to get cleaned up.
Yeah, so much of that mid-range just got cleaned up. And then if you throw the vocal back in for a second, look where it's going to be sitting. It's going to even have more space than it did before. It's very cool. I love this stuff. It's like a puzzle.
We do the same thing. I'm not going to touch a boost on this piano until we have the vocals in. What I like about this piano is that it actually does fill out the body of the track. So I'm gonna kind of just put a like a more gradual slope just right at that point of buildup. And I'm just gonna leave it there until we get the vocals in, and we might come back to it. You know, we can sit here and rabbit hole all day, but I think it's better to just kind of pick something and move on, right? Dude, I think that really, I mean, that is really, really helpful in terms of the tightness of the track. I feel really good about where that whole thing is sitting. In terms of high end on the drums, you know, I do think there is like some more character that we can bring to the drums. You know, all the sounds are real. How do you spell character? I'm good at other things, I swear.
You're right.
And then
You got it.
and I just think I want to dirty them up just a little bit. So a little bit of like imperfection. They sound really clean and glassy, and you know, like they were just, you know, pulled out of a sample library, right? So I just kind of want to give them a little bit of imperfection. And that's just a me thing. That's a personal thing. That's a taste thing. I'm not really hearing a lot of issues elsewhere. So now it's about kind of like enhancements. So I'm going to say character on drums. I'm going to say spatial processing and notes. You know, I had some notes inside the tracks, so we're going to kind of go through there and sort through some of those things. Those thoughts that I was having during volume only mixing. We're going to do some spatial processing, specifically on the snare drum. I think that snare can just it needs some space. Just needs some space to it. I like the dry kind of nature of it, but maybe some subtle kind of width I want to hear there could kind of liven it up. And then bus processing. Let's do some bus processing. If you guys are cool with that. Guys cool with that? Does that sound like a plan? Here, I'm going to say POA, plan of action. Good.
We should
You
also, yeah,
guys,
we should also find something to use. I don't know if you are clippers and limiters on maybe the kick or something to show
yeah.
that.
We shall. Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely, we shall. We'll do that when we get to bus processing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, just do it on the bus.
That's what I'm thinking.
Cool.
We can also demonstrate what that looks like on the individual track level if we want, if you know, it comes to that as well. But I feel pretty good about that. Cool. Were you guys asking for like an actual like 5 minutes? Like a full 5 minutes, like stand up stretch, like walk away, go grab a refill kind of thing, and then we'll jump back into this and finish it out. Is that
Cool.
okay?
Yeah, let's
Yeah?
do it.
Sweet. 30 seconds is fine. No, we'll do a full 5 and then we'll jump back in into this thing. Cool.
I had a joke there I shouldn't say. Anyway.
Fair. Good job monitoring yourself. So I'm gonna bring up a timer, not just any timer, but my favorite timer, the Goog. This is the Google timer. My favorite timer, least favorite alarm. So I'm gonna turn off the alarm. I'm gonna reset that bad boy. 5 minutes on the clock. We're gonna put it into full screen. See you back here in 5. Hi. What's up, team? What's going on? What's up? Let's go. Let's go. All right. We're going. We're going then. You guys said let's go. Let's go. Some character on those drums. You know what? Before we do that, I want to do some spatial processing on the snare. And this goes back to what Caleb was talking about. Our spatial processing. This is our method for applying reverb, like spatial processing in a mix. Okay. Call it the 3 buckets method. So imagine your mix is broken down into 3 categories. One is drums, the other one is vocals, and the last one is everything else. And I'm just going to call those instruments. Okay, so that's where we start. Categories, there's drums, there's vocals, and then there's everything else. Within each of those categories, we create at least 2 aux tracks. One for short reverb, and the other for long reverb. So for vocals, you create 2 aux tracks, one for short reverb, one for long reverb. For instruments, you create 2 aux tracks, one for short reverb, one for long reverb. What I also like to do is add another 2 aux tracks for my vocals, which is a short delay and a long delay. And you can do whatever you want. This is just kind of a template for you to think about starting with if you're not sure how to approach reverb in the mix. Okay. So I just want to be very clear there. There are many different ways to apply reverb in a mix and delay in a mix and kind of work with wet effects and time-based effects like that. This is just a starting point and a template that you can use that we recommend. Okay. Make sense? Cool. So let me show you what this looks like. And I've already kind of set this up. Whoop. There they are. They've got 2 aux tracks for our drums, the drum short and long, instrument short and a long, and vocals short and long. And when I say short for reverb, I mean decay time is short. Yeah, exactly. Like short, we consider a short reverb something that's like less than a second. Longer reverb, more than a second. Right? I think that's probably a good kind of like, loose guideline. Yeah, we might put delay on an instrument, but I'd kind of take those by case by case.
Yeah, I find delays are more like situational. It's rare. Other than the vocal, it's rare that I need to bus a bunch of different things to it. They're so particular. And oftentimes those are built into the productions anyway and baked into the track.
So since we're going to start with, drums and putting some character on that snare, then why don't we set up the drums first? I'm just going to do like a short, I wonder if there's a chamber. Do they have a chamber? Let's see. I would love if they have. Oh, there's a famous studio reverb. And Sunset Sound studio reverb. The Farm Stone Room. Oh, that sounds cool. That's got to be a chamber. Look at this thing.
Sweet.
What is that? Scary. Cool. Okay. So it seems like this is specifically for drums. That's cool. Oh, this is Genesis Farm Studio. Oh, Genesis's Farm Studio drum room. That's cool. Yeah, that sounds like something I would want for a short reverb for drums for sure. So I'm just gonna see, are there any presets for it? Cool. There are presets for it, so let's just kind of like as a send, because we're using it as a send. See what we got. Bright and tight, ambience.
Point here is you got to just pick something and start somewhere. Something that
Yeah.
seems pretty good and just start there.
Yeah, I'm thinking let's just pick, I'm just gonna pick just, yeah, arbitrarily just pick drum ambience. Cool. There's that. And then for long reverb, drum long reverb, I want to do something different. So maybe we can use, it's the Fame Studio.
You know what bundle this is that you got for this? Is it the T-Rex something bundle?
5, yeah.
T-Rex
I think
5.
I think it's max, yeah.
Max.
Yeah. And then we'll just do like a long plate. Oh, look at these, they change. That's cool. Depending on what module you use. That's sweet. We'll just do a long plate. .5 seconds is fine. I don't need a 5-second plate on that. Cool. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do to set up my drum auxes. Now let's go over to our snare. Snare, my note was to get that brighter. We've done that. Let's see. Yeah, let's start to set that up. What do we have here? Claps, toms, hats. I'm just going to get this set up on the snare. So we've got a drum short verb, and then we've got a drum long verb. And let's start dialing this in. A little shorter than I would like on that. Let's see what the long sounds like. We can change our reverbs later. That's longer than I would like. So let's dial in our short reverb. It's right now it's at drum ambience. Maybe we can do like, let's do this Stone Hall, fully expecting to have to dial it back. That's cool. Not quite giving me what I want here. What's 80s? Okay, and then we have a high pass. That reverb is sounding a little bit too weighty for me. I don't know. I'm just not crazy about the room with this. I'm just gonna go to like a short plate, maybe. Much better. You know, less of a darker mood and more of like a brighter, poppier, um, more exciting kind of mood. You know what I mean? And this is exactly what we were talking about before. What Caleb mentioned inside of his lesson was considering the mood of the track and considering the emotion of the track. You know, I was getting like this dark, it sounded like a stone room, you know, it sounded like a dark kind of chambery kind of reverb on that snare. But as soon as I put this plate reverb on there and let a little bit more of the high end kind of come through, it's a little bit more of an airy kind of texture. You know, it felt right to me. It just felt like it matched the same mood of the track, kind of bubbly, kind of bouncy kind of thing. So we'll dial this in just a little bit more, a little bit further. And what I think could be really cool here is that if we just kind of automate this so that we've got this short reverb, nice, and like barely audible in the verse. And then it just opens up in the pre-chorus when the rest of the instrumentation comes in and provides more space and width and impact, right? So the section before it, there's nice contrast there between the verse, you know, tight, upfront, intimate, and then boom, everything kind of opens up, right?
Yeah.
Make sense? And then let's just kind of see how this sounds throughout. Let's take it down for that hit. Just for that hit. Again, it's just a contrast thing. And then for that break, we'll bring it down. So just in the chorus, we'll bring it up a little bit. So we got some more width there. And, you know, bring it down just for the break and then liven it up for the verse. And then here, we'll just take it down. We'll bring that back up to 11. Energy drops there, so we're going to drop the reverb there as well. Still got the same, you know, it's still got the reverb on it. It's just not as present as it is in the chorus. Again, I'm just going to take the reverb off of that. Middle. Then let's just open it up. I think this probably goes all the way out. I'm gonna guess. Doesn't go all the way out. Stops there. So we'll just do this just for this section. And that is our snare reverb. Cool. Let's do the same thing for those claps. So I'm going to do a short and a long for the claps. I think the claps can probably be a little bit longer than the drums, than the snare. Yeah, let's see. Why is it so small? It's my old eyes. My old eyes. Bring the pre-delay up. Let's see what we got here.
Bottom right. Chat's telling me. Bottom
So
right corner,
resize.
there's a resize button if you want.
Oh, thank you. Look at that. Oh. Really like that longer. I'm gonna open up the low pass filter on that though. It's not often I want more highs out of my reverb. But for this song, I am doing it. We may have to adjust that once we bring the vocals in, but for now, I really like that. What I'm not gonna like about it is right in the beginning when we've got all this intimacy kind of happening. That's a mute automation. That's not the one I want. I want this one. You know, right in the beginning there, I want them to be nice and close up front. Dry, right? I want them to be nice and dry. So I'm going to keep them. I turned them up a little bit.
Choked, broke again. Swallowed your pride and you choked again. Losing your mind, make it make some sense.
Yeah, I don't want them that loud in that spot, but I do want them that loud in the choruses. So what I'm going to do is just use a gain plugin to automate the volume down. Like this. Just for that spot. Kind of get it sitting where I want it.
Broke again. Swallowed your pride and you choked again. Losing your mind, make it make some sense. You put in the time, how could you still be this? Losing your mind, make it make some sense. You put in the time, how could you still be this far? Broke again. Swallowed your pride and you choked again. Losing your mind, make it make some sense. You put in the time, how could you still be this far behind? Never broke again. Swallowed your pride and you choked again. Losing your mind, make it make some sense. You put in the time, how could you still be this far behind? Never had enough, your life's been tough. You're living for the moment, don't you wanna get that ace been played? No one saves the day, take a hold, you gotta own it. Don't you wanna get that cash? Don't you wanna get that cash? Don't you wanna? No use.
Okay, I'm gonna do this. Don't worry, I'll explain it in a minute. Let me cook. And I'll go back and explain. I'm just gonna volume automate the kick down just for this quick break.
Don't you wanna get that cash? Don't you wanna get that cash? Don't you wanna? No use telling me that you want to
Cool.
get that cash.
And I'm going to do the same thing in this little break here. It just helps to give the sections on either side a little bit more impact. And I'm just taking this down a couple decibels, a couple decibessies.
You say I got it wrong, you say I need it, you say I should be the one to get it.
Think about what's going on with the long reverb on the claps.
Up and go and get that cash.
Yeah, that doesn't need to be quite that present.
You say I got
Go and get that cash. Get that cash.
You say I got it wrong, you say I need it, you say I should be the one to get.
All right.
Call me when you can cash out. I wanna run away with you. Call me when you can cash out. I wanna run away with you. No use telling me that you want to. Only you can get up and go and get that new day. Riding up on this new wave. Only you can get up and go and get that. No use telling me that you want to. Only
Right. In this section, we're going to bring the reverb down a little bit more on that clap. That's all we're doing. We're just adjusting reverb levels on the clap as we make it our way through the arrangement.
no use telling me that you want to. Only you can get up and go and get that. New day, riding up on this new wave. New day. New day, riding up on this new wave. Only you can get up and go and get that.
Listen to that.
And go and get that. No use telling me that you want to. Only you can get up and go and get that. New day, riding up on this new wave. Only you can get up and go and get that.
Beautiful. I'm happy with all of that. Cool. Okay. That's spatial processing on the drums. I don't feel the need to do it with anything else because reverb's baked into a lot of this stuff. And I think that's the area where reverb really kind of makes the biggest impact for this track, with the exception of the vocals. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions about any of that? Anything that we did there? I tried to teach as much as I could along the way. I may have missed some things if you guys are
Makes a ton of
confused.
sense to me, Jake.
That's good, Caleb.
I thought you did a good job explaining that.
Cool. No, there are no standards for like side info or on stuff.
You can automate any effect with any parameter the same way in Logic.
That's right.
Can you explain why you used balance instead of pan in Logic?
I don't know what that means. Balance pan?
Balance instead of pan?
I don't know what that means. I don't
Can you
understand.
explain the use of a gain plugin for automation as opposed to volume fader automation?
Yes.
That's an important one.
Yeah. I like to use the gain plugin just to do all my volume automation so that if I need to make a global change of the track, I still have the fader free to do that. It's not just kind of like snapping around on me. So I do all my kind of like arrangement based volume automation with a separate plugin, a gain plugin, before it hits the fader. And then the fader, I can just do global total volume up or total volume down. Make sense?
Free the fader.
It's so
Hashtag free
annoying.
the fader.
Like you struggle with that took me years to figure that out. Like it's just like, I have to open up my automation lanes and I just have to select everything and then bring everything up or bring everything down. Just use a gain plugin to write in the automation, and then your faders are just totally free for you to be able to do that kind of stuff.
That
You
one, that one,
changed my life.
yeah, that one tip in the last 10 years, 15 years probably. I can't remember how long ago. It's probably more like 15 years ago that I learned that. It's changed my life with mixing more than probably any other tip I ever learned. Because it
That's
gets crazy. How many times do you get in there and then you go down and move a fader and then realize that 10 hours ago you had put an automation lane on it and it instantly snaps back and you don't notice and you keep doing it and you keep not noticing.
Bro, it's
All-
those stupid little utility tricks, like the normalizing for gain staging kind of thing too. It's like, of course.
Crazy.
Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
it's not the way.
It
Yeah.
is not the way. That's right. It's not the way.
I like Mr. C. That's fun.
So just
Free the
taking a
fader. Yeah, hashtag free the fader.
well, just taking a quick break here. We're not going to do like a 5 minute or anything. I'm just taking a quick ear
Someone asked if you
break.
what speakers you use. Use the 7s or the 8s, the Rocket 7s or 8s.
I use the KRK VXT6s.
Oh,
They're a discontinued model from KRK. They're not rockets.
okay.
They're what I used these monitors as a theater manager in a control room, and I loved them and I got to know them really well. So I was able to find a pair on, I think it was reverb.com, and snagged them. And I've just been using these, and they're base ported in the front. So they're actually designed to be used upright, like standing vertical with the base port on the bottom. But I just got better results in my room and more accurate results by just putting them on their sides. I ran a couple tests and experiments, and although the manufacturer recommends that you sit them upright, I don't know. They just work this way.
I've had a lot of speakers that recommend that I've helped students get better clarity by not doing that. So it's a rule I've also broken.
It's just you got to run your own tests with this stuff. You have to just run your own tests. The variables are too vast to just make a blanket kind of like, hey, just try it. Just try it out. That's the only way you're truly gonna know, is if you run your own
I haven't
stuff.
put mine on my side just because I have side ports. My last speakers had side ports too, so I
The
haven't.
bass will just like blow holes through your carpet,
Ugh,
your
they'll
floor.
start counting.
They'll literally like start to levitate.
I should just try it for fun. No, I don't want to try it. I would be scared to ruin
Yeah, don't
these.
do that. That's an
What are some
investment.
common bad habits that a lot of engineers, producers pick up on as they go? What mistakes should we not? Oh my gosh. So many. Oh, YouTube is no one's friend when it comes to this stuff. It's full of algorithms that promote like catchy titles like tips and tricks and all this kind of stuff. And there's so many things that people do that's a tip and trick and they don't understand the fundamental behind any of it. And so for one, it doesn't work the same, but also they just kind of get it in their head that they should always do that or something like that. And there's just literally dozens, if not hundreds, of these little things that people pick up on that are part mindset issue and part technical issue. And I've kind of I've seen it all in the last like several years working with like thousands of students in our program.
Yeah, if I had to narrow it down to one thing, it would be just wasting time.
That's a big one. They're all so many of them are time related. And I do talk about like a lot of the big mindset ones on these events. Like these are some of the bigger ones that I see people make for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would just be wasting time and not having, you know, not holding yourself accountable. Like how many I wasted time. I wasted a ton of time like focusing on the things that I thought were important without giving myself like specific goals and holding myself accountable and taking ownership of holding myself responsible for hitting certain metrics and holding myself accountable to doing certain things. You know, that's the biggest problem that most people have. I think if I had to boil it down and say, hey, here's my number one thing. What are you spending your time on right now? You know, are you spending your time on the right things? Are you getting any closer to your goals? You know, your ultimate goals? Or are in some ways, are we doing something that we think is moving us closer to our goals, but we're really just procrastinating? That's a hard conversation to have with yourself. You know what I mean? It's a tough one. But look at where were you last year? Are you any closer this year? Something's got to change, you know, and facing that as a truth, right? That's what I would say. Sorry to get deep on you guys. I know I'm the dad jokes guy, but I believe strongly in a lot of these kind of things as well. So thanks for the opportunity to get to talk about that a little bit, answer that question. That's just skimming the surface. That's just the, you know, one man's perspective. Anywho. I love that response. Bruce killed it. Procrastination is horrible, but I'll deal with it later. I see you. I see you, Bruce. Well put. Way to break the tension. All right. Guys, ready to get back into it here? Yeah, one's in chat. You ready to go? Cool. All right, we've talked a little bit about spatial processing. You saw the 3 buckets method, even though we didn't use any of those buckets for instruments. Hopefully you guys can take away the concept and start applying that to your own mixes. Next, what we're going to do here is there's character on drums. There's that. I also have some notes, and I'm actually going to bump this up further in the list. Notes. I took some notes while we were doing our volume balance, and I just want to make sure that I've addressed all of those things. Yes, there. Yes, there. Width. I have this note that says width here.
Never had enough. You're not, you're living for the moment. Don't you wanna get that ace been played?
Okay, width, it says here. I'm going to use just a really cool little trick here. Just a stereo delay. Basically, this is what's known as a Haas delay, where you keep one channel at, you know, no delay whatsoever, just dry signal. And then you delay the other channel slightly, you know, typically anywhere up to about 40 milliseconds. You can, explore longer times, but typically anywhere 20 to 40 milliseconds is kind of the sweet spot for me, but run your own tests. And what this does is it can create some really nice width on an instrument that is otherwise a mono signal, right? So for example, this guitar. It's a mono recording coming straight from the center of the mix. And then once we turn the sample delay on, yeah, and if you care about mono, the mono compatibility here, then check it in mono. If it doesn't do what you want it to do, you can try another method. I don't really care as much about mono compatibility. Certainly not enough to like, sacrifice the stereo quality of the mix,
And tough, you're living for the moment. Don't you wanna get that ace been played? No one saves the day. Take a hold, you gotta own it.
So what you should be hearing here is a spreading of those that guitar, right?
Had enough, your life's been tough. You're living for the moment.
The reason I want to do that with this instrument is that is separation, right? And that's number one. And then number two is to declutter the center of the mix, right? There's already a whole bunch of stuff in the center of the mix. There's kick, there's snare, there's vocals, right? There's bass.
Had enough, your life's been tough. You're living for the moment. Don't you wanna get that?
Acoustic just kind of gets lost when it's jammed up the center,
Had enough, your life's been tough. You're living for the moment.
But when we spread it out to the sides, you start to hear the picking scraping across the strings.
Had enough, your life's been tough. You're living for the moment. Don't you want?
Hear it? First without and then with. Hear the difference? Yeah, it's just a little bit wider. It's a little bit of width. It declutters the center of the mix. So cool, mission accomplished. We can move on. What's next? Nothing. I'm sure I had some more on the vocals. Yeah. So I had all of that. Look at all these. Most of these notes are about, creating that kind of width and decluttering the center. All right. So we'll handle that tomorrow on vocal day. It's our list, our plan of action. I'm going to put our plan of action at the bottom there. Cool. So those are my notes. Now let's do some character on the drums. want to experiment with some saturation just on the snare here. Kind of dirty it up a little bit. Oh. Where is saturator? Probably starts with an S, right? There it is. Oh, look at that nice big plugin. Thank you for whoever suggested that. Perfect. Print it. This plugin is phenomenal. I love this plugin because I'm the simplicity guy. I'm the minimalistic guy. Give me, 2, 3 knobs and I'm good. I am gonna oversample. How high can I go? I'm just gonna go as high as I can go. Let's play with it. Let's kind of explore some of these. We're gonna do it in the context of just the drums. Right, kind of fattens it up a little bit. I really like that tape too. I'm actually gonna write this down. This is one of the options. I'm gonna stay away from master stuff. I don't really need any more like high-end information. Wow. That tape 2 is my favorite. I'm happy with that. Do you hear the difference there, guys? It's pretty subtle. That's a character thing, right? It's a fattening of the snare, kind of like fills out the body a little bit, kind of draws attention more kind of to the punch of the snare and less to that kind of like that pokey kind of area higher up on the frequency spectrum. Very, very subtle. Cool. I'm happy with that. And then in addition to that, I want to toss something on the entire bus. We can do saturate, but I kind of want to play with something different. There are a lot of really cool kind of like tape machines in here. We could try that 24. Let's see. These are great. These are phenomenal. I love these. Listen to that, dude. Like just default. I'm not pumping any more signal into that. This is just straight through. Beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, I'm going to play with one more, but I like that one. This one actually helps to bring down the kind of more brittle nature of the snare. So I'm going to go with that one. Let's shoot out one more because this is fun. Nerd stuff. This one might have a little too much low end bump for me. Turn down the bias. So it gives more high end to the snare. Do we want that? This is where I need to go to my reference because I tend to just, I like brighter, but I know that I'm biased towards brighter. So I'm always going to choose brighter. So this is where, for me, this is where a little alarm goes off in my head and says, hey, dude, is this pushing it too far? How far do we have to kind of go here? So this is where I'm going to check a reference to help me make this decision.
Try to hurt me with the word. Time to better on the end.
kind of split the difference and then just took the high end of the EQ down a little bit. All right. I think that's fine. I'm not going to shoot out any more of those. We could do that all day.
Don't wanna get that ace been played. No one saves the day. Take a hold, you gotta own it. No use telling me that you want to. Only you can get up and go and get that. No, there's time to feel it. Only you can get up and go and get back. No use telling me that you want to. Only you can get up and go and get that.
Cool. And let's take that tape machine and bring it across all the buses. We don't need the audio on to do that. Just gonna bring it all the way right across. That's what that sounds like. Huge difference. That, to me, that's one of my favorite things to do, is just kind of like drive each signal, each bus through some kind of saturator, something that's going to add some saturation, something that's going to add some harmonic content. For me, that's tape machines, or usually analog emulations of circuitry, right? So tape machines, console emulations, channel strips, things like that. It's a depth thing. It's a depth thing. And I see a lot of you are asking the question, why don't you just put that on the mix bus? Because you are each group has its own signal. So if you put that signal through circuitry, that very particular signal through a piece of circuitry or a process, it's going to react differently than if you were to put the sum of all of those signals into one process, into one effect, right? It'll just have a different effect, and we can do it. We can.
Well, I think it's a similar mindset to the spatial rule, which is we're trying to create a little bit of separation, but not too much. So on every channel might be overkill. On just the stereo out might be underkill. But on each bus, you're getting each one running a signal through each one, and then they're kind of getting a little separation from each other, as opposed to having all the same effect have on them, or each individual track being too much. Does that make sense?
You can do all if you want. You can do anything you want. There's something about processing each group channel, those signals separately, rather than putting them all through something, that creates that separation. It's exactly what Caleb is saying. It creates that separation between each element. And to me, it feels, because there are differences in terms of how the harmonics are being generated per signal, it feels like this is happening to the mix. It feels like it's stretching out, like there's a depth to everything, right? All these pieces are moving independently of each other, rather than you tossing them through one thing to glue them all together, right? That's what makes it feel, I don't know. This is just my experience, and this is my opinion on the matter.
In another sense, we don't teach people to put anything on the mix bus or the stereo out. I mean, they're going to do that in mastering, so let that be part of the mastering process. with the kind of mastering ear and mindset and understanding and tools. And this is a chance to put it and create separation on the buses, which is something that's also good.
Yeah, somebody said each subgroup is hitting at different frequencies. Right. That the signal is different depending on which subgroup or which group you're kind of working with, right? It's going to react differently. The harmonics generated are going to be different because the frequencies getting pushed through them are different, right? Anyway, that's exactly right. Whoever said that. Joe.
Yeah, separate the mindsets, Enrique. Exactly. Not necessarily. Paul.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to use the same kind of plugin across the board. Again, I'm just like a simplicity guy. Typically for me, I'll get something that I really like on the drums because it's more obvious what that processing is doing on transient heavy material, and I just pay closest attention to drums and vocals anyway. And then I'll just copy that over. But there are some circumstances where, hey, maybe this is too beefy, or maybe this is kind of building up in one particular area and I want to experiment with something else, or I just get really nerdy and want to experiment with different saturators and different machines on each channel, then fine. But again, most of the time I'm thinking time, time sensitive. I'm trying to finish a mix quickly for a client and hit a deadline or something like that, then I'm just, 9 times out of 10, I'm just going to just copy it over to all the other tracks, and gets me kind of like that feeling that I'm looking for, that kind of like that third dimension kind of depth, right? Just my 2 pennies on it.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's that. Big difference there. Last thing I'm going to do here is, we kind of did character on the drums. We did some bus processing. Last thing I'm going to do here is on the drums, the transient heavy material. I'm actually going to clip that back to save headroom.
Finally,
Yeah.
some dynamics.
Yeah, I know. I haven't done any dynamics processing
Didn't need to.
in this mix. It just didn't have to do it. I was like, where are all your compressors? Aren't you going to glue the buses together? No, dude. Like, it sounds great. I'm good with it.
Sounds good. At it. Yeah, you're fixing problems you hear, not just doing what a YouTube channel said to do.
Yeah.
No offense to any
I'm not
YouTube
playing-
channels.
Yeah.
It's not like with listening. These are a lot of samples and different things like that are already really compressed, and they were probably handled in production a bit too. But there is some work we can do here, so it's a good kind of example of this.
How much time do I have to play with stuff? That's kind of the question, right? If I got a deadline coming up and it only took me like 2 hours to finish a mix, and I have like another day until the deadline, and I've got another like hour of time or 2 hours of time or something like that, then maybe I'll play with some more techniques. Maybe I'll play with some stuff. Maybe I'll swap some stuff out, just to have some fun with it. But if I'm just bringing this track to a bass line and not trying to whip out all the tricks in the bag or anything like that, and move on to the next job, then this is, this sounds pretty dope. Like, this sounds like it fits in a playlist with the references. And that's ultimately my goal. Everything else is just kind of like icing on the cake stuff, Why did I pick this plugin, I wonder? It's because you guys got me preaching. Let's see. This classic clipper. I'm going to start with this output actually kind of down. I'll explain this after I've dialed it in. might be able to just crank this thing. Let's see. Just getting a little too much of an artifact on the snare, or on the kick for my taste. I might reel that back.
For real.
I think we can get away with just a little bit more. Phenomenal clipper. Phenomenal clipper. Like, so transparent. I was using this in some masters. Just really, really great stuff. So, what have we done here? What did we just do?
Break it down.
I'm turning it on and off. I can't hear a difference.
And that's the point.
That's the point. Exactly. What we've done is we've clipped, quite literally, clipped the peaks of all the transients of that signal. And you can see that happening if we take a look at the meter here. When this clipper is off, we're peaking at about -11, right? Now with the clipper on, we've just saved 2 decibels of headroom. Does that make sense? But how does it not sound quieter? Exactly. That's the power of the clipper, right? That's the power of the process of clipping. It's great for transient heavy material, things like drums, right? Because what it does is it actually chops off the top of the waveform. It's really cool.
And this headroom we're saving can be used for volume later in mastering. Trust me, it will come to use.
Flipper's actually taking a little bit of the bottom end of the kick out. It's kind of like soaking that up a little bit. Puts it very, very carefully. Negligible in my brain. Cool. I'm happy with that. Sounds good to me. I think we could probably call it for today. Caleb,
Cool. I
what
have
do
a
you
little
think?
bit of, yeah, let me give a couple little thoughts on mastering.
Oh, wait, before you jump in, can we do just quick A/B?
Yeah.
On this thing? Yeah, you guys want to see that? Want to listen to that? Just quick A/B on everything that we've done here. I'll just isolate the chorus. Look at this. That's a mix. That's a mix for instruments anyway. Anybody surprised by that? Give me a second to set this up and then I'll give you guys a proper A/B, okay? Bear with me. Stay with me. Cool. Let's do it.
It's
Makes
really
sense?
great work. Yep. And they want to see it on the paths. Can you show them
Okay.
potentially? Compared to,
This is no vocal.
yeah, no
Keep
vocal.
in
So
mind.
there's room there. Look at that room we carved out with that in
I
mind.
wonder what's gonna go there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned it too, right? That's a super obvious difference. That low end rumble.
But all the
Right?
low from about 500 down is much more tamed. You can see that. And remember, yeah, the synths and yeah, a lot was in the synths for sure, which is pretty common, guitars and synths. Yeah, great work. Really quick, gonna share with you quickly another mastering mindset. Share my screen. And this is a great segue into it because what we're talking about is controlling dynamics, and there's a way for you to assess those dynamics even in the mix before you bounce it down to master. It's easy to kind of see in a master. I'll explain that in a sec, but there's a tool you can use in mixing to see how your transients are doing and get them, make sure you get them healthy. And for the reasons that we've talked about yesterday, if you weren't here, we teach in reverse at mastering.com. We have a program called the Reverse Engineer. It's a 2-year program for audio engineers and producers and artists. But we teach in reverse, and the reason being is mastering is an incredible place for people to dive into the more technical left brain parts, the stuff that most people are missing. And we use that as a catalyst to enhance the right brain creative parts. It's a really cool approach. I find that most times when people can't get the sounds they have in their head to come out of the speakers, it's not for lack of creativity. It's for lack of technical knowledge about how to translate the things they have in their head to come out of the speaker. And so that approach is very powerful for our students. But when it comes to dynamics, you know, if we're looking at a master, we would see waveforms. We could easily see that there are peak transients that are kind of sticking up, like in this waveform, for example. And another example would be something like this. If I got a master like this, I would probably push back on it and say there's something that's gobbling, or sorry, that's spiking the transients in all those places. And the reason that's not good is because if I'm setting a mastering compressor, it's going to either be one of two things. Either I can only set it to get those transient peaks, and then it's not affecting everything else, which the point of mastering is like that subtle glue or something like that. It's not able to do that. So then I'm applying like 2 or 3 clippers and doing all that work just to compress it properly, and it's much more destructive. Or I set the compressor at a ratio that is affecting the glue, but then it's spiking and pumping because those transients are hitting so hard, right? Does that make sense? So we have to control transients in the mix. That's where we have to do them. Jake, show them the tool.
Yeah, sweet.
Or how we can kind of assess that. Just like a frequency analyzer from yesterday, this is like a transient analyzer.
Yeah, so you put it right on your stereo out. It's called Wave Observer, and it's completely free tool. You can download by a company called Press Play. Press Play, Wave Observer. And it'll just give you a readout of what your peaks look like. Those are mostly drums, right? So like if I were to turn up this drum bus, you see that? See how the transients grew when I turned up the drum bus? Right?
We have this pretty under control because we literally just applied a clipper to change those transients, but show him, you'll even see if he takes that off.
Yeah, let's
be a couple dB bigger than they are.
Yeah, let's see if
they're already pretty controlled, so it might not be like the most extreme example that we could show, but you'll see a difference here.
Let's see. Yep. So before I turned the clipper on, a lot of the peaks were kind of sitting in this -12 kind of slot here. And then once I turn the clipper on, those peaks kind of go right below this -12 line, kind of sit in this -18 slot.
Yeah.
Right. So you gotta pay attention to that. I'm going to turn it on and off. First off, you're going to notice I'll just kind of move my mouse like this. Right? So see how these peaks here are sitting in here, sitting in here, sitting in here, sitting in here, right? They're kind of consistently in this -12 kind of row. Now I'm going to turn the clipper on. There we go. shoot. Ugh. Still have a few of them kind of sitting in this -12. But even more of them sitting closer to this -18 row, right?
Oh.
And we could
Yeah.
chop those peaks down even further if we were to go down into the individual tracks, right? The snares, the kicks, all of those things that are causing those peaks. We can look backwards and we can say, hey, where can we save that space? Where can we save energy there? What kind of combination of saturation or clipping and saturation can we use so that we still have a nice kind of like perceived level of loudness while saving headroom? Make sense? Guys following that?
You'll see much more extreme versions of this. Pop song, everything's probably mostly samples and it's already pretty compressed, but take a indie rock song and those transients are going to be a lot more wild and you'll need to do more work taming the transient peaks with everything. So anyway, use that. It's a great tool and know there's a reason for it. All that transient information or energy that you save will allow the mastering engineers tools to work better and they'll be able to give you a better product and elevate the song to a louder, more clean level by doing so. So now it's your turn. If you've been working on a track along with us, follow along. Now it's your time to work on instrumentals. So frequencies, dynamics, spatial processing, the buckets method, go through, do what you can. This is your choice now. You get to do everything you think and hear and explore stuff and take risks with these tools and then just see how that works for you. See if it's useful and try to keep in mind the kind of the high level principles that we've been talking about for the last couple of days. Tomorrow is going to be amazing. Vocal day is going to be incredible. There's so many vocals to work on and there's good work to be done. So it's not major work, but a lot of little things are going to add up to a really expensive, beautiful sounding vocal. I'm excited to dig into that with all of you. Same time tomorrow. Jake, don't be late.
We'll try.
And in the meantime, have a great Wednesday or Thursday if you're somewhere crazy. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good one, y'all. Thanks for being here.